Good afternoon from Los Angeles and welcome to Stock Market Today, sponsored by Interactive Brokers. On today's show, we're going to be taking a look at the charts of Lululemon, Burlington Stores, as well as Integris. But first, let's take a look at the major indexes. It's Alyssa Corum here, joined by Ken Shreve. And Ken, we were able to finish positive today. The Nasdaq up about 0.6%. Same goes for the S&P 500 and Dow. So adding to gains, hitting a little bit of resistance, but nonetheless positive to see us go higher across the board, especially given with the volatility with the futures that we saw last night.
Right. At last check, still China trade talks still going on in Washington. Really haven't heard any meaningful headlines out of the talks today, but the Nasdaq, we're going to take a look at a chart of the Nasdaq here. It was up about 1% intraday, and you can see it got pretty close to its 50-day moving average, backed off highs a little bit. Looks like it ended with a gain of about 0.6%. Similar gains for the S&P 500 and Dow. So overall, not a bad session. Finally got some volume in the market today. We've been talking about all of these higher volume declines that we've been seeing in the major stock indexes in recent weeks, followed up by lower volume gains. Finally got some volume in the Nasdaq today. Like I said, closed off highs a little bit, but overall a pretty good session.
All right. Well, then what is next for the market? When will investors know that it's really actually safe to get back in?
Well, so all three indexes are still grappling with their 50-day moving averages. So from a technical perspective, again, you can see the Nasdaq touched that red line today, backed off a little bit. So we want to see a conviction retaking of the 50-day line for the Nasdaq. We want to see the same thing for the Dow and the S&P 500. That's not going to turn into a new bull market, but it would be a technical sign of strength. But today, pretty broad-based strength in financial stocks, retail stocks, chip stocks. So, some good action below the surface and decent gains today.
All right. Well, Ken, you mentioned the retail sector. So let's take a look at two retail stocks. We want to start with Lululemon, which gained over 3% today in above average turnover, retaking its buy zone after slipping a little bit below that level. But even when it did, it was able to find support at the 50-day.
Yeah, all the while it's maintained a pretty bullish technical picture. It gapped up over that 194.35 buy point several weeks ago, and then it really couldn't do anything from there, but instead it just kind of pulled back gently, held above its 50-day moving average. At the end of this week, it's actually going to have a new base in place, so people that haven't, that don't own Lululemon yet could get an opportunity to buy the stock again if it breaks out of the new base. But again, it's still in buy range from that 194.35 entry, so just one of many strong performing retail stocks in the market. You can see today's close near highs and a good push in trading volume too. So bullish session for Lululemon and a lot of other retailers too, like I said.
Yeah, and the stock still has about 2 months to be able to work before its next earnings report. So we have that out of the way. Although, again, we still have kind of these broader market concerns that we're still dealing with when it comes to making sure the market conditions are on your side before you buy.
Yeah, and that's not entirely clear right now because we do have a very elevated distribution day count in the S&P 500 and Nasdaq. So basically, since mid-September, we've seen a lot of higher volume declines in the Nasdaq and the S&P 500. Still a lot of individual stocks out there acting pretty well, but the uptrend is under pressure due to these whiffs of institutional selling that we've been seeing. So new buys are still a little risky, but with the uptrend under pressure, it's okay to nibble here and there. So some people might opt to take a look at Lululemon here. Others may wait to see if it can break out over a new buy point.
All right. Well, we'll definitely have to see. And elsewhere in the retail space, let's check in with Burlington Stores, which gained about 1.6% today. It's shaping a nice flat base. The stock is now about 6% below a potential buy point here, Ken. And similarly to Lululemon, it gapped up on its last earnings report and has been able to maintain the majority of those gains.
Yeah, this is, again, kind of a similar looking chart to Lululemon, but again, just another retailer that is performing well, executing really nicely. So this is a stock where, a base is forming here. We'll see if it can get closer to that buy point, but anytime a stock gaps up, and again, we just saw this with Lululemon, if it can hold gains and move sideways after that gap up, that's a way it shows strength and support. So So really nice price action in Burlington since that gap up several weeks ago. Again, similar to Lululemon. So these are two really strong retail stocks that are telling the market that they're strong right now. So we'll see if we can get a new breakout for Burlington stores if this market can start heading higher.
Right, and I think underscoring the tightness of the action here is the fact that this new flat base, the depth of it is only 10%. So that's a pretty tight base.
Ideally, a flat base, you're going to see that 8 to 10% pullback. They can come in as much as 15%, but really your
sweet spot.
Your sweet spot in a flat base is right in that 8 to 10% pullback, and Burlington passes muster there.
All right, and last but not least, let's take a look at Entegris on the radar today. You mentioned also the chip sector coming to the forefront here, and this is another semiconductor equipment stock on the radar. This one holding tight as well amid all the choppy volatility.
Well, they're kind of hostage to the trade war. And,
right.
You know, when the trade war headlines are negative, chip stocks tend to trade lower. When they're positive, they tend to trade higher. So it's still a nice pocket of leadership in the market. So particularly the chip equipment firms. I mean, we've been talking about them for a while. The Applied Materials is another one, and Entegris is a lesser known name in the chip equipment group, but still very liquid, institutional quality. Like how the stock is pulled back in light volume, still holding comfortably above the 50-day moving average, and it's still well within buy range from that 45.22 buy point. So again, with the market uptrend under pressure, new buys are a little risky here, but this is just what a picture perfect pullback looks like after a stock picture perfect pullback. Yeah.
That was great. No, you handled that perfectly.
But after a stock breaks out of a base and it pulls back in light volume, you'd like to see low volume pullbacks compared to heavy volume pullbacks.
Definitely.
And, this is a good looking stock.
Yeah, most definitely. And with Entegris, we do have earnings coming up, expected to come out towards the end of the month. So we'll have to see if that is also a catalyst for the stock. But as you said, with trade uncertainty, we'll have to see how that plays out.
Well, we should have a pretty good idea by the end of tomorrow. What is happening, if we're going to get some sort of truce, if President Trump is going to maybe put off these tariffs that are scheduled to go into effect. So hopefully we get some sort of truce, and hopefully that's good news for the market.
Yeah, that's right. And so with that, it could be an interesting Friday to come.
Absolutely. Today was the first day of trade talks, and I think President Trump tweeted this morning that he is meeting with China's vice premier tomorrow, which the market like that news earlier today, so we'll see what tomorrow holds.
Yes, we definitely will. And everyone, make sure you're heading to investors.com for all the latest, and especially make sure you're taking advantage of our premium features this week, as it is free access week. So you can check out all of our premium content for free, no credit card required, at investors.com. You can check out all the details at investors.com/free access. Isn't that right, Ken?
That's exactly right. And it's going to go all the way through Sunday, too, so plenty of time.
Yes, plenty of time. Make sure you take advantage of that. And also, we have a new episode of the Investing with IBD podcast out now. We have a new episode that drops every Thursday, and you can head to investors.com/podcast for that. And last but not least, we will have another episode of our investing strategy show at the Nasdaq market site in Times Square coming up on Monday. For all the details on this weekly show, make sure you're heading to investors.com/investing strategies. It's going to be another good one. So can't wait to share more on Monday. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow to finish off the week.